And welcome back to the program as we continue our conversation with our friends at Agoro Carbon Alliance, learning more about the carbon markets and things that you can do as a farmer or rancher to get involved and help in the climate change process and climate smart activities, and just finding out how you could benefit on your operation. Joining us once again here today, pleased to have with us Clay Craighton. He's an area sales manager with our friends at Agoro Carbon Alliance. Clay, thanks for being back on the show with us here this week and taking the time to tell us more. I hope things are going good this week.
Yeah, going good, Jesse. And yeah, you bet. Glad to be here.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about, I know last week we talked about some of the nuts and bolts about a carbon contract. This week, I want to focus on looking at some different things for folks in qualifying. How can their land qualify? And also, don't disqualify yourself, I should say. So walk us through just some of that thought process as you're talking to a farmer or rancher that are looking to sign up and work with the Agoro Carbon Alliance. What are some things that you highlight with them, or what are some things you'd want them to know maybe even before they come have a conversation with you and the team at Agoro?
Yeah. So I would say, like you said yourself, don't self-disqualify before you have the conversation. I promote that regularly because typically, say your typical grower in Iowa, he's been no-tilling for years, that dude thinks he doesn't qualify, but he gets a hold of us, and I'm like, well, have you tried this cover crop like that? And you don't have to do it on all your acres, kind of stair step it through to see where they're at in the regenerative process and then kind of what fits their operation too. So, or if a guy, he's not really willing to go full no-till, so he thinks he doesn't qualify, and I'm like, well, you can still qualify by going to vertical till or reducing the pass. Or example two, with another row crop, if a guy's been doing rye for years and years and years, and have you thought about adjusting your species, doing a different legume possibly, or reducing your synthetic nitrogen? So there's so many nuts and bolts behind it. That's why it can be complicated to a grower that doesn't know if he qualifies or not. That's why we push to have the conversation, because ultimately we don't know until we work through what have you been doing on your operation. And another common misconception too would be a guy no-tills on this 80 across the road, but grandma's east up there, he hasn't touched that one yet. Well, you can still qualify that piece. It's all depending on the acre, not necessarily the practice per farm. So there's a lot of different factors.
Yeah, a lot of different factors, and a lot of great things you mentioned there, looking at no-till, vertical till, looking at various cover crops you may have used. We know that the carbon conversation's been around, and some folks have adopted certain things and some folks have not. So a lot of it comes back to really understanding and, again, having the conversations to learn about what you can do or what you can't do, right, as we kind of see this renewed push looking at carbon markets and climate smart activities, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we mainly touched on the row crop side too. There's a whole other range of pasture side too. So yeah, you got to keep that agronomy, at heart I'm an agronomist, so you got to keep that agronomy hat fresh on you, so you can have every conversation, because that's one thing I do like about our program too, is that we offer row crop and range of pasture. So even if a guy has 500 acres row crop, has an 80 acre pasture, we can implement it all if he's willing to do the practice change.
Yeah, and thinking about our range and pasture folks, our ranchers, I mean, you think range and pasture, your mind goes to out west, in the plains with the big ranches, or down south in Texas, Oklahoma. But, even some of our folks who are ranchers that have a small scale pasture operation in Iowa, in Illinois, in Ohio, Pennsylvania, et cetera, like it's something that fits with so many folks across the entire country, Clay.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we made it an important part of our program, getting started, and to find something for the ranchers, because one thing that all these carbon registries look for and want is permanency. And what's more permanent than a pasture? If they do that change, that carbon's going to stay there. So
very true. I know another great tool you guys have online at agorocarbon.com, agorocarbonalliance.com. You guys have a carbon calculator tool. Can you touch on that a little bit for us?
Yeah, that's been big for us. So it gives a good estimate for the grower, even before speaking with somebody like myself, what can my return possibly be for my land? So the calculator, it's pretty simple. You could just input, let's do 500 acres. 200 in this county, 200 in this county, and then you can implement, okay, I want to try reduced hill here, but let's do cover crops here. Or maybe I can click on both here. So really lets you get a little bit more personalized to what your operation could possibly earn by that too. And it gives a good estimate, a good rough idea off the bat. And like I said, we're not asking for too much information off the bat, just how many acres and what counties with what practices are you looking at.
And it's something too that, I like the fact farmers and ranchers could go there and type in, the information required on their own time,
Right.
look at some things, get some things down, in pencil, and then if say, hey, okay, I want to have a further conversation. So I like Agoro's approach to kind of saying, here's a lot of information to let you look at some things yourself, and then when you're ready, you can come to us and have that conversation that you need to have.
Yep, exactly. Because you go through all that, take whatever notes you want, and then after that, you can say, speak to a representative now if you'd like, and then it would allocate you depending on what state you are to a certain sales manager. So
a lot of tools available, and I know you guys have a lot of knowledge on your website and contacts for your grower success team and more. All of that, Agoro Carbon Alliance.com. Plenty of stuff there for folks to check out, isn't there, Clay?
Yep, absolutely. We have a knowledge hub available online on the website, and it's articles, podcasts, videos. You can even see me soil sampling in very cold weather if you'd like on there. It's just stuff on there to see how we do things. How does the soil sampling work? And then what questions to ask for a carbon contract, like we spoke of before. There's so much, pardon my phrase, but knowledge on there on the Knowledge Hub that you can look up. But you have a search bar there. You can say, yes, I'm interested in, cover cropping in the Midwest, and it would take you to certain articles written about that topic. So it's very nice to be able to really look into, what you're interested in.
Well, Clay, real quick, final thoughts before we let you go. Anything you'd want farmers and ranchers to think about, remember, as they're, looking at the carbon markets, they're thinking of working with Agoro Carbon Alliance. What's maybe that quick elevator pitch? What do you want them to remember?
What I want to remember is make sure you at least have that conversation like we kind of talked about first, like just to re-hit on that. Even if you don't think you're quite ready, if you don't think you qualify, at least have the conversation first, because there is a certain qualification window with a lot of this too. So if you're doing those changes or you do qualify, you want to make sure you hit it at the right time. So I urge you to at least look, even if you're somewhat interested, and at least have the conversation, because even at the end of the day, if you don't end up signing up, it still is worth something to learn more about the topic.
Well, great thoughts there. Again, learn more, AgoroCarbonAlliance.com. With that, Area Sales Manager from Agoro Carbon Alliance, Clay Craighton, thanks for joining us again this week, and we'll look forward to talking to you again soon.
You bet. Thank you, Jesse.